Have you ever noticed how some people will walk right out of your life and you're the one chasing after them? You're texting, calling, checking in, hoping, begging just to get them to stay. And the harder you try to hold on, the more they slip away. Let me tell you something that will sting for a moment, but will save you for a lifetime. The people who are meant to be in your life don't need convincing. They don't need reminders, and they don't need begging. Think about it. Why are you fighting to prove your worth to someone who's already shown you they don't value it? Why are you exhausting yourself trying to convince someone to see your light when it's their choice to stay in the dark? Every second you spend begging someone to remain in your life is a second you steal from yourself, your growth, your peace, your dignity. The truth is, most of us don't beg because we love deeply. We beg because we fear being left alone. We beg because we've convinced ourselves that if they go, we'll lose a part of who we are. But here's the reality. Nobody completes you. Nobody defines you. And nobody is responsible for staying just to make you feel whole. That power is yours. So let me ask you something. When was the last time you stopped and ask yourself, why am I trying to convince someone to stay who has already decided to leave? That question alone will change the way you see every relationship in your life. Because when you chase what's running away, you miss what's waiting for you. And when you beg people to stay, you hand over the keys to your self-respect. Tonight, I want to give you a truth that will set you free. If someone can walk away from you, let them. Not because you're weak, not because you don't care, but because you are strong enough to protect your value. You don't need to beg, you don't need to plead, you don't need to shrink yourself to make someone else comfortable. You were never meant to force love, force loyalty, or force respect. And once you understand that, your whole life changes. This isn't about bitterness. This isn't about revenge. This is about reclaiming the power you've been giving away. Because if you're brave enough to stop begging people to stay, you'll discover something greater than their approval. You'll discover your freedom. When you beg someone to stay in your life, what you're really doing is handing over your power piece by piece. You might not realize it in the moment because your emotions are running high, your heart is aching, and your mind is telling you that if you just hold on a little tighter, maybe things will change. But here's the truth you have to face. Begging doesn't keep people closer to you, it pushes them further away. Because when you beg, you communicate that you don't see your own worth, and you give them permission to treat you as if your value depends on their presence. Think about what it means to beg. Begging is not asking. Begging is not expressing how you feel. Begging is lowering yourself, shrinking who you are, abandoning your pride, and pleading with someone who has already shown you that they don't want to give you what you're asking for. It is a form of surrender, but not the kind that brings peace. It's the kind that leaves you weaker, emptier, and resentful. Every time you beg someone to stay, you reinforce the message to yourself that you are not enough without them, that their validation is the oxygen you need to breathe. And the more you believe that lie, the more dependent you become on people who don't deserve that kind of control over your life. Here's what you must understand. People respect strength, not desperation. When you stand in your value, when you know what you bring to the table, people either rise to meet you or they quietly exit. But when you start chasing, clinging, begging, you are telling them, you are above me and I am willing to bend myself into pieces just so you'll choose me. And the painful truth is, the more you lower yourself, the less they will respect you. Respect is never born from desperation. Respect is born from boundaries, from self-respect, from showing people that your worth is non-negotiable. Now I know why people beg. We've all been there in some form. You beg because you're afraid of being alone. You beg because you've invested time, energy, maybe even years into someone. And the thought of losing them feels like losing a part of yourself. You beg because you remember the good times and you think maybe if you just try harder, you can get back to that place again. But what you're really doing is ignoring the truth sitting right in front of you. If they wanted to stay, they would. If they wanted to fight for you, they would. If they truly valued you, you wouldn't need to beg. Their actions would already prove it. Begging strips away your power because it places your sense of identity in someone else's hands. You become like a puppet, waiting for their approval, their affection, their attention. And here's the danger in that. When you need someone that badly, they can control you, they can mistreat you, they can disrespect you, they can pull away, and you'll still run back. Why? Because you've convinced yourself you can't live without them. That's not love, that's dependency. And dependency will drain you, break you, and keep you stuck in cycles of pain. Real love does not require begging. Real love is mutual. Real love is a choice two people make freely. When you beg someone to stay, what you're really saying is, I don't trust that I'm enough. I don't believe someone will love me without me having to plead for it. And that's the wound you have to heal, not the relationship itself, but the way you see yourself. Let me give you a simple picture. Imagine holding sand in your hand. The tighter you squeeze it, the more it slips out between your fingers. That's what begging does. You think that by holding tighter, by doing more, by convincing harder, you'll keep them, but in reality, your desperation pushes them away. Because nobody wants to stay in a place where they feel forced, manipulated, or guilted into remaining. And even if they do stay for a while, it won't be out of love, it will be out of pity, obligation, or convenience. And deep down, you'll know the difference. Here's what happens when you stop begging. You shift the power dynamic. You stop giving someone else the authority to determine your worth. You show them, and more importantly, you show yourself that you can stand tall, whether they are with you or not. And that is when true strength emerges, because when you stop begging, you reclaim your dignity. You reclaim your self-respect. You reclaim the ability to walk away from what doesn't serve you. But it's not easy. Walking away never is. It feels like tearing yourself away from something you thought you needed to survive. You will feel the emptiness at first. You will feel the urge to pick up the phone, to send that one more message, to try one more time. That's the moment where most people go back to begging. But if you can sit in that discomfort, if you can remind yourself that the pain of letting go is temporary, but the pain of holding on to someone who doesn't value you is permanent, then you will grow. You will become unshakable. Here's the shift you need to make. Stop asking, how do I make them stay? And start asking, why do I want someone who doesn't want me? That question will expose the truth. Because if you're honest with yourself, it's not love you're clinging to, it's fear. Fear of being alone, fear of rejection, fear of not finding better. But fear is not a reason to beg. Fear is a reason to build strength, to face yourself, and to rise above the urge to depend on someone else for your happiness. Begging strips away your power because it tells the world that you don't know who you are without someone else. But when you stop begging, you send a different message. I am whole, I am enough, and I will not reduce myself to keep what isn't meant for me. And that is the kind of strength people admire, respect, and are drawn to. So the next time you feel the urge to beg someone to stay, remember this. If they can leave, let them. If they want to walk away, open the door, because the people who truly belong in your life will never need begging. They will stay because they want to, not because you pleaded with them to. And when you understand that, you will never again give away your power to anyone who doesn't deserve it. Rejection. Just the sound of that word makes people flinch. It stirs up memories of doors slammed in our faces, messages left unanswered, people walking away when we thought they would stay forever. Nobody enjoys rejection. It cuts deep. because it feels like someone is telling us we're not enough, that we're unworthy, that we've somehow failed. But here's the shift you need to make if you want to grow stronger. Rejection is not the enemy. Rejection is a revelation. Rejection doesn't destroy you. It reveals the truth about who really belongs in your life. When someone rejects you, what they're really doing is giving you information. They're showing you their level of loyalty, their level of commitment, their willingness to be there when it's not convenient, when it's not easy, when you don't have anything to offer except yourself. And isn't that what true connection is supposed to be? Loyalty isn't proven when things are comfortable. Loyalty is proven when things are hard. Anybody can sit with you when you're winning. The test is who stays when you're losing. Rejection reveals that test faster than anything else. So many people see rejection as a loss, but what if you started seeing it as clarity? Think about it. When someone decides to leave your life, when they ignore you, when they don't choose you, what they're really doing is saving you time. They're showing you up front that they were not built to handle the weight of your journey. And yes, it hurts. Yes, you may cry. Yes, it may feel like you're breaking apart. But I want you to imagine the alternative. Imagine begging them to stay, holding them close when they don't want to be there, forcing them into a role they were never going to play. What happens then? You waste years with someone who will never truly show up for you. You spend your energy trying to convince them of your worth instead of walking toward people who would see it without explanation. Rejection stings, but it purifies. It clears the space around you. It filters out the people who were only half invested, the ones who were with you for convenience, for what they could get, for the season, not the lifetime. And that is why rejection is not something you should run from. It's something you should accept as a gift, even if it's wrapped in pain. Because in that moment of loss, you're being given the truth of who was never really loyal in the first place. Now here's where most people get it wrong. They think rejection is a reflection of their worth. They believe if they didn't want me, I must not be good enough. But that's a lie. Rejection is not always about you. Sometimes it's about where they are in their own life, their own immaturity, their own inability to see value when it's right in front of them. Sometimes it's about timing. Sometimes it's about fear. And sometimes, yes, it's simply that they don't want what you bring to the table. But even then, that's not a measure of your value. That's a measure of their choice. Think about this. If someone doesn't like the taste of honey, does that make honey less sweet? No. It just means their preference doesn't align with what honey is. That's how rejection works. Someone's decision not to choose you does not reduce your worth. It only reveals that they were not the ones meant to sit at your table. The people who are meant for you won't need begging, convincing, or endless explanations. They will choose you willingly. Their loyalty will not waver because of circumstance. Their respect won't disappear when things get difficult. And if you pay close attention, rejection will separate those people from the rest. That's why you can't see rejection as a punishment. You have to see it as protection. Protection from wasting your love, your time, and your spirit on people who cannot carry it. You will find that rejection often redirects you. It pushes you out of places where you've grown too comfortable. It removes people who would have slowed you down. It closes doors so you can be forced to walk through others. And in the moment, you don't understand it. You're left with questions like, why me? Why now? Why wasn't I enough? But later, when you look back, you realize that what felt like rejection was actually a rescue. The very person who rejected you was never equipped to walk with you into the life you were meant to build. I want you to sit with this truth. Loyalty cannot be faked. People can say all the right words, they can promise forever, they can play the part for a while, but rejection will always reveal what's real. When someone chooses to walk away, believe them, don't chase, don't argue, don't beg. Accept that their exit was the evidence you needed. Because if they were truly loyal, if they were truly invested, they would have stayed. You don't need to fear rejection. What you need to fear is wasting your life on people who are only half in. People who pretend. People who say they care but vanish when you need them most. That's a far greater loss than any rejection you will ever experience. Rejection is sharp, but it's clean. It cuts you, yes, but it heals. False loyalty, on the other hand, poisons you slowly. It drains your energy. It makes you doubt yourself. It holds you back without you even realizing it. So the next time you face rejection, I want you to see it differently. Don't see it as a door slammed in your face. See it as a wall protecting you from walking into the wrong place. Don't see it as someone denying your worth. See it as life filtering out what you don't need. And don't see it as abandonment. See it as revelation, a clear view of who was never truly loyal to begin with. Rejection reveals true loyalty because it strips away the illusions. It shows you who is really with you and who only came for the ride. And once you understand that, you stop fearing rejection. You start embracing it. You let it guide you. And you realize that every no that broke your heart was simply making room for a better yes. Attachment can feel like love, but it's not the same thing. Love is a choice. It's a connection rooted in respect, trust, and mutual care. Attachment, on the other hand, can be a chain. It can bind you to people who no longer treat you right, to relationships that drain you, to situations that stop you from growing. The danger of attachment is that it convinces you that letting go is impossible. You tell yourself, I can't live without them. I can't move on. I can't imagine my life without this person. But those words are not born out of love. They are born out of fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of starting over. Fear of losing the familiar, even if the familiar is toxic. Self-respect and attachment are often in conflict. When you're deeply attached to someone, you start to excuse behaviors you would never tolerate from anyone else. You overlook the red flags. You forgive the disrespect. You silence your own needs. You shrink yourself just to keep the bond alive. And with each compromise, with each moment you abandon your own values, your self-respect erodes a little more. You end up in a cycle where you keep giving more of yourself while receiving less, all in the name of attachment. And eventually you look in the mirror and wonder, where did I go? How did I lose myself in this? The truth is, real love will never require you to sacrifice your self-respect. If someone truly values you, they won't put you in a position where you have to beg, chase, or lower your standards just to keep them. That's not love, that's dependency. And dependency masquerading as love is one of the most dangerous traps you can fall into. Here's something to think about. Why do we often cling to people who hurt us? Why do we stay attached to relationships where we know deep down we are not being valued? Because the mind convinces us that the pain of staying is easier than the fear of being alone. Attachment whispers lies in your ear. They'll change. They'll realize your worth. It's better to have them halfway than not at all. And you start to accept crumbs, telling yourself that crumbs are enough because at least it means they're still there. But here's the problem. While you're busy holding on to crumbs, you're starving yourself of the feast you deserve. Self-respect demands the opposite. Self-respect says, I would rather stand alone with dignity than sit surrounded by people who belittle me. Self-respect gives you the courage to set boundaries, to demand honesty, to walk away when someone continually shows you that they cannot or will not treat you the way you deserve. It's not about arrogance. It's not about pride. It's about recognizing that your worth is not negotiable. It's about knowing that no attachment is worth losing yourself over. If you've ever begged someone to stay, think about how that moment felt. You felt small. You felt powerless. You felt like your future depended on their choice. And when they still left, or when they stayed but treated you like an option, that pain cut even deeper. That's what happens when you prioritize attachment over self-respect. You give someone else the authority to define your value. You tie your worth to their decision. And in the process, you lose yourself. But when you choose self-respect, something shifts. You may still feel the pain of letting go, but it's a different kind of pain. It's the pain of healing, not the pain of betrayal. It's the discomfort of growth, not the emptiness of abandonment. And over time, that pain turns into strength. You start to realize that your life doesn't end when someone walks away. You realize that you can rebuild, that you can stand on your own 2 feet, that your value does not decrease just because someone failed to see it. Attachment says, don't let go, no matter what it costs. Self-respect says, let go if holding on means losing yourself. And when you choose self-respect, you open the door to healthier relationships. You make space for people who see your value without needing you to prove it. You create an environment where you are loved, not for how tightly you hold on, but for who you are. Here's the reality. You cannot force someone to love you, and you cannot force someone to stay. No amount of attachment can manufacture loyalty. No amount of clinging can create respect. And if you think it can, you'll spend your life chasing people who were never meant to stay and lowering yourself to keep those who were never worthy of you in the first place. Self-respect is the antidote to unhealthy attachment. It's what allows you to say, I love you, but I will not beg you. I care for you, but I will not lose myself for you. If you want to leave, the door is open. If you want to stay, show me through respect, honesty, and action. That kind of strength doesn't push people away. It attracts the right ones, because the right people are drawn to confidence, to boundaries, to authenticity. They don't want you begging. They want you standing tall. So ask yourself right now, are you holding on to someone out of love or out of attachment? Do you feel respected in that bond, or are you shrinking just to keep it alive? If the answer is the latter, then it's time to choose self-respect. Because no matter how strong the attachment feels, it will never be worth sacrificing who you are. Attachment is rooted in fear. Self-respect is rooted in strength. And when you stop choosing fear and start choosing strength, you realize something powerful. You were never afraid of losing them. You were afraid of facing yourself. But once you face yourself, once you find your own worth, you'll never beg, chase, or cling again. You'll know that anyone who belongs in your life will honor you, not diminish you. And you'll understand that self-respect is the foundation on which real love is built. Letting go is one of the hardest things a person can do. We hold on so tightly to people, to relationships, to memories, to what could have been, because deep down we think that letting go means losing. But in reality, letting go is not about losing. It's about making room. It's about clearing the space in your life that's been taken up by people who don't belong, so that better ones can enter. The irony is that while we're clinging to what's breaking us, we're blocking the very blessings we've been praying for. Think about your hands. If you're clutching something tightly, your fist is closed. Nothing new can come in. That's what happens when you refuse to let go. Your life becomes too full of what's not working, too consumed by people who don't value you, too tangled in unhealthy attachments, and then you wonder why nothing better is coming along. It's not because you don't deserve better. It's not because the right people don't exist. It's because there's no room. You haven't let go of what was never meant to stay. Letting go feels painful because it requires you to release the comfort of the familiar, even if the relationship is toxic, even if the connection is one-sided. There's still a sense of security in what you know. Starting fresh feels terrifying. Facing life without that person feels like stepping into the unknown. That's why people hold on to relationships that are draining them, not because they're happy, but because they're scared. But here's the truth you need to face. Staying attached to the wrong person doesn't prevent loneliness. It guarantees it. Because there is nothing lonelier than being with someone who doesn't see you, doesn't value you, and doesn't choose you. When you let go, you may feel empty at first. That's normal. You've been carrying someone in your life for so long that their absence feels like a hole. But that hole is not a loss. It's space. It's space for healing, space for growth, space for new people, new opportunities, new beginnings. That's why letting go is not weakness. It's strength. It's saying, I trust that what is ahead of me is greater than what is behind me. I trust that I don't need to cling to what doesn't fit, because what does fit will find me. And here's something powerful. Letting go is often the test that determines whether you're ready for better. Life won't hand you new blessings if you're still holding on to old baggage. Imagine trying to board a plane with 10 heavy suitcases. You're not going to get through security. You're not going to move quickly, and you're going to exhaust yourself dragging it all behind you. That's what it looks like when you refuse to release the weight of relationships that were never meant to stay. You slow down your own progress. You tire yourself out, and you miss the flight that was supposed to take you somewhere new. Better doesn't arrive until you create space for it. If you keep entertaining people who disrespect you, you won't recognize the ones who value you. If you keep holding on to someone who's halfway in, you'll miss the person who wants to be all in. If you keep chasing those who left, you'll overlook the ones who are ready to walk beside you. That's why letting go is not about them. It's about you. It's about choosing yourself, choosing peace, choosing a future that's not cluttered with people who have no intention of growing with you. Many of us delay our growth because we're stuck in the past. We replay conversations, we stalk their social media, we wonder what went wrong. And all the while, life is waiting for us to move forward. The door to better things is wide open, but we're too busy staring back at the closed one behind us. You cannot walk into your future while dragging the weight of your past. At some point, you have to decide that your destiny is more important than your history. Letting go is not a betrayal of love. It doesn't mean you never cared. It doesn't mean the memories weren't real. It means you've recognized that the chapter has ended, and you're brave enough to close the book. It means you understand that holding on to someone who doesn't belong in your life any longer dishonors both them and you. It keeps them stuck where they don't want to be, and it keeps you from moving toward where you're supposed to go. And here's the most liberating part. When you finally release what's not meant for you, you realize you never lost. You gained. You gained clarity. You gained freedom. You gained the ability to create a life that aligns with your worth. And soon you'll gain better relationships, better opportunities, better peace of mind. But none of that can happen while your hands are still full of what's no longer yours. So ask yourself right now, what am I holding on to that is blocking my better? Who am I keeping in my life out of fear instead of out of respect and love? And am I willing to let go? Not because I don't care, but because I care about myself enough to make room for what I truly deserve. It takes courage to let go, but that courage will transform your life. The people who belong in your future will never require begging. They will come willingly, stay faithfully, and grow with you. And when they arrive, you'll be grateful you cleared the space for them. Because better cannot walk in until you're brave enough to let go of what was holding you back. There comes a moment in life when you have to make a choice. Will you protect your dignity, or will you throw it away in desperation to keep someone who has already shown you they don't value you? Too many people beg, plead, and chase after those who no longer want to stay, believing that if they just try harder, if they sacrifice more, if they give up a little more of themselves, the other person will finally choose them. But here's the truth. When you beg, you diminish your own worth. You strip away the very dignity that makes you powerful, attractive, and whole. Dignity is one of the few things in life you cannot afford to lose. Money can come and go, opportunities can come and go, even relationships can come and go. But once you sacrifice your dignity, you begin to lose yourself. You start to see yourself through the eyes of those who undervalue you. And the danger is this. When you accept crumbs from others, you start believing that crumbs are all you deserve. That's why desperation is so dangerous. It convinces you to settle for less than what you're worth. Think about the people you admire most. Are they the ones who beg others for attention, for love, for validation? Or are they the ones who stand firm, who know their value, who walk away when they are not treated with respect? Strength is always dignified. Desperation is always weak. And the world responds to that energy. The more you beg, the less respect you receive. The more you chase, the faster people run. The more you plead for someone to see your worth, the more invisible you become in their eyes. Choosing dignity is not about arrogance. It's not about saying, I don't need anyone. It's about saying, I refuse to reduce myself for anyone. It's about holding on to your self-respect no matter what, because when you stand in your dignity, you send a clear message to the world. I know my worth, and I will not accept anything less. That energy doesn't repel people. It draws the right ones in. People are naturally attracted to those who carry themselves with quiet confidence, who know when to stay and when to walk away. Desperation, on the other hand, pushes people away. Think of it like this. When you're desperate, you're no longer giving freely. You're trying to extract value from someone who has no intention of giving it. You become clingy, needy, and suffocating. And instead of pulling the other person closer, you actually drive them further away. That's the tragedy of begging. Not only does it damage your dignity, but it almost never achieves the outcome you want. You can't force someone to respect you by lowering yourself. Respect can only be earned by holding yourself up. Choosing dignity also protects your future. Every time you let desperation dictate your actions, you create patterns that are hard to break. If you beg someone to stay once, you'll likely beg again. If you sacrifice your dignity for love today, you'll keep doing it tomorrow. But if you draw a line, if you say, I will not beg for love, I will not compromise my self-worth for company, I will not chase what's trying to leave, you create a standard, and that standard becomes the foundation for every future relationship you enter. Let's be clear. Choosing dignity doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you don't love deeply or that you don't fight for what matters. It means you know when the fight is no longer mutual. It means you understand that love cannot be one-sided, that relationships cannot survive on begging, and that your worth is not up for negotiation. It means that no matter how much you feel for someone, you will never value them more than you value yourself. Think of dignity as your crown. When you walk with it, people notice. Some may try to knock it off, some may not appreciate it, but the right people will honor it. Desperation, on the other hand, is like trading that crown for scraps. You may think you're winning something, but you're actually giving away your most precious possession. Because here's the truth. If someone truly loves you, you won't have to beg them to stay. If they respect you, you won't have to remind them of your worth. If they see your value, they'll never make you feel like an option. The ones who belong in your life will never require your desperation. They will stay because they want to, not because you pleaded with them. They will choose you freely, consistently, wholeheartedly. And when that happens, You'll realize why you should never have lowered yourself in the first place. Because those who belong will honor your dignity, not demand your desperation. There's a deep peace that comes when you stop chasing and start choosing yourself. When you stop begging and start walking with your head held high. When you stop shrinking for people and instead let them see you in your full strength. That peace is priceless. That peace is power, and it only comes when you make the decision to protect your dignity no matter what. So the next time you feel the urge to beg someone to stay, pause and ask yourself, is this worth my self-respect? Is this worth lowering myself for? Is this worth losing the one thing that defines my strength? If the answer is no, and it almost always is, then choose dignity, let them go if they want to leave. Because when you walk away with dignity, you don't lose. You win. You win back your self-respect. You win back your power. And eventually you win the kind of love, friendship, and respect that you never have to beg for. Because in the end, desperation will leave you empty, but dignity will always lead you to more. When you step back and look at everything we've talked about, one truth stands out. You were never created to beg for love, to plead for attention, or to chase after people who don't see your worth. Begging strips away your power. Rejection exposes who's truly loyal. Attachment without respect destroys your identity. Letting go creates the room for something better. And above all, dignity is worth more than desperation could ever buy. You don't need to convince the right people to stay. You don't need to perform for love or exhaust yourself proving your worth to those who are blind to it. The right people will recognize you without explanation. The right people will stay without you having to beg. The right people will respect your boundaries and grow with you, not against you. So here is the challenge. Stop begging. Stop chasing. Stop shrinking yourself to fit where you were never meant to belong. Stand tall in your dignity. Walk away when people show you they don't value you. And trust that your worth does not decrease because someone failed to see it. Your life will change the moment you understand this. Losing someone who doesn't value you is not a loss, it's a gain. It's a doorway opening for better people, better love, better peace, and a better future. You don't need to hold on to what's leaving. You need to hold on to yourself. So let this be your reminder. You are not here to beg for love. You are here to embody it. You are not here to convince people to stay. You are here to walk boldly into the life and relationships that align with your worth. Protect your dignity, guard your heart, and trust that when you stop begging, you'll finally start living the life you deserve. Because in the end, the people who truly belong in your life will never need begging. They'll choose you freely, fully, and without hesitation. And that is the only kind of love worth keeping.